Meeting of the Property Facilities Committee of the State of Iowa Board of Regents will come to order. First order of business are the minutes of the September 12th committee meeting. If committee members would take a look at those and see if there's any additions or corrections. Those look okay? Okay. Hearing none, those stand approved. Register of the University of Iowa Capital Improvement Business Transactions. Rod?
Yes, Regent Dokovich, committee members. The University of Iowa has three projects that I will summarize for you, plus a couple of other matters related to property and requested demolitions. On the projects we have, the first of the three, South Wing, UIHC, convert fourth floor to inpatient unit. We have an older part of the South Wing, which is just south of the General Hospital, that has served its purpose previously as what was called the Rossi House, a housing area for people coming and visiting the hospital with patients in the hospital. We have since in recent years been contracting with local hotel to provide more rooms and make that more fitting, and with that space available and in the ongoing both theme and need for UIHC services to go to and provide more single room acute services, we are converting by this project, converting that space, estimated cost $4,400,000 to create 13 new inpatient spaces, a nurse station, a nurse workroom, staff lounge, and family lounge. So that project would modernize that part of the hospital, that wing within the hospital, and make it available for patient acute care. I'll go ahead and do all three and then see if there are any questions for those, can answer those.
And did you mention, Rod, the hospital building usage funds?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, absolutely. University of Iowa hospital building usage funds for that project. The second project is a university water plant, part of our physical plant and utility system. Our water plant has in it a gravity filter system. This is something that is not fixed or needed to be updated or fixed very often. In fact, in this case, two systems of this are one portion of it 31 years old, the other 56 years old. It's come time to work on these units to make sure that the infrastructure serving the entire University of Iowa campus is taken care of. This is a $4 million project through the utility enterprise R&I funds. It would be a three-phase project that would happen phase one in the winter until spring, in each case winter to spring, 2019, 2020, and 2021, and that will ensure that our water plant is still operating as it needs to serve the campus. And the third project within the UIHC complex, Roy Carver Pavilion, is an inpatient psychiatry and expansion renovation. This is actually a revised budget. We've come to the Board of Regents previously on this project, and in simplest terms, we were operating on a project that would modernize and renovate the north half of that wing on that floor. We're coming back to the Regents asking for permission to, in effect, double the size of that. The space that was on the south side of that wing was unavailable for consideration of use at the time we initiated that project. We have since, with some of the switches that have been enabled with the Children's Hospital project, have moved the adult blood and marrow transplant unit out of that wing, making the south half of that wing also available for really what is a much needed capacity issue for our inpatient psychiatry. This will add 13 beds, 13 individual rooms, and will increase this project from 12 to 25 beds and adjust the total budget from $8.275 million to $15,109,000. Again, university hospitals, building usage funds would be the funding source for that project.
So it's fair to say you're doubling doubling the size of the project, but not doubling the dollars.
Correct, yeah, there is not only scale benefit, but you're also looking at the other matters related to design, construction, management, and others that are able to couple this up. Certainly, if we went back and did this later as its own project, you'd look at this project actually has one more bed, not that that's not trivial, but it is nearly the same project. It would cost at least or more than the original project that you had approved. This allows us to take advantage of space now available, lower costs than if we did it on its own, plus a much-needed inpatient need for our psychiatry unit.
Okay, thank you, Rod. Are there any questions on those projects from the committee? Any questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, the committee will recommend those to the full
Very good.
board. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you're on deck next also to
absolutely.
raise 2 buildings.
Have two items on this portion of our capital register, the requests to raise 2 buildings on the campus. One of those is at 1360 Melrose Avenue, the University Athletic Club, or University Club. It was formerly Athletic Club. The university purchased the building in 2008 when it was the Athletic Club, a privately owned clubhouse facility. The owner was ending the business and the building was up for sale. We suffered the impacts of the flood and had an emergency need to maintain catering and event services because the student union, our Iowa Memorial Union, was unusable at the time. We did purchase the building, but over time, as we've continued to use it for services served out of IMU and our food services unit, have seen a drop in membership. Also, a building that even in 2008 was very tired has continued to see an amassing of deferred maintenance needs that would be very expensive, and the costs do not defend our continuing to operate that facility. So on December 9th, we will be ending operation of that facility, and we're asking the Board of Regents for permission to then advance a raising of that facility. It becomes a liability to us, and over time, we will continue to examine best possible uses for that site, third-party developments or others that can generate revenue and positive use of the facility, not only for the university but the community. In the meantime, we expect we'll be receiving bids and also then starting construction on a new clubhouse next to that, associated with the athletic department's operation of the Finkbine, the adjacent Finkbine golf course. That is a project that is solely supported by a donor and would move forward and would actually offer a lot of the spaces and activities that might have otherwise been occurring within the clubhouse that we're closing. The second project, or the second raising request we're making, is at 212 Myrtle Avenue. This is a former house that has for decades been used as a child care facility. The university has leased that for outside third-party child care operators for a long time. The building has historically been used during the academic year and then vacant during the summer. The most recent tenant user was finding a drop in customers, but also the condition of the building was leaving them to not continue their lease. The building since then has been vacant, and we've had no suitors for it. The building is well past its useful life. It sits alone, not within the context of other homes that are in the nearby neighborhood, and it is a building that, again, would be something that we would intend to demolish and return to green space. It is a liability and a risk to the university to maintain the building at this point. So those would be the 2 raising requests that we would present to you.
Questions or comments from the committee? Are there deferred maintenance numbers on those buildings that will
They
go
do,
away?
yeah. We have deferred maintenance numbers on the homes are ones that are less so, but there are always operational costs related to the utilities to get to it. A lot of those are handled within the lease. On the University Club, certainly we've got information. I don't have it here. We've got information on it, but it is a building that is not covered by the revenue in its operations. The building is intended to be its deferred maintenance covered that way. We did not intend to keep that building for the long haul, knowing that it was a temporary need we had and it was already a tired building. We have air handling units that serve the building that are already non-operational, which would have made a winter use of this building either difficult or expensive. And same with a lot of the outdated kitchen equipment that is in it, are becoming more and more difficult to work with. So unlike some of our academic buildings or buildings on the main campus, we don't so much look at what we're going to invest in it, but in this case knew we wouldn't be investing unless it could cover its costs, and it can't. So there are deferred maintenance buy-down elements, but not like many of our buildings on campus. We had intended it as a temporary building.
Sure. Sure. Questions, comments from the committee? Hearing none, the committee will recommend the raising of those two buildings. Thank you. Oh, I guess we got one more
One more, yeah, one more, then I'll get out of your way.
No problem.
Yeah, the University of Iowa proposes, it's really 3 property transfers. The city of Coralville, that's associated with the land that we've all discussed related to the Iowa River Landing area off of 9th Street in Coralville. This is a no-cost basis, no monetary exchange, because in effect it's a trade. The map indicates it's a trade of very small parcels in that area, primarily 2 triangle spaces where we give almost an identical amount of square footage to Coralville. They give us a triangle of square footage of about just over 4,000 square feet that enables Coralville to build a street at that point to align the street, and it also then allows for corner property for the university, as was master planned for Iowa River Landing. The second is a conveyance of land underneath 9th Street, which is a pedestrian tunnel from the existing Iowa River Landing to the future facility expansion or extension. And that would be, the land conveyance there would just be for the land underneath, not the road work, but for the tunnel beneath. And so those 3 properties in agreement with Coralville would be at no cost, and upon your approval, upon the Board of Regents' approval, the university would work with the Attorney General to prepare the land patent and legal documents associated with that transfer.
They'll continue to maintain the street.
Yes, absolutely.
Questions from the committee? Hearing none, committee will recommend that to the full board. Thank you, Rod.
Thank you.
Register of Iowa State University Capital Improvement Business Transactions. Pam Kane, please.
Thank you, Regent Dokovich. Iowa State University seeks approval on 4 different projects. I'm going to start with the one with the revised project description and budget for the poultry farm and teaching and research. As stated in the docket, the proposals for construction exceeded the budget, and so we are changing from 6 different buildings. We're combining those 6 buildings into one. We were reducing the size of that building, but we're still going to meet the programmatic needs. And it's more economical, and we are eliminating duplicated spaces such as public spaces, restrooms, showers, utility, and mechanical spaces. And again, this is all private giving. It's a budget increase from $5 million to $5,750,000. So that's the revised project budget and description. Then we are also seeking your consideration for 3 projects for the schematic design, project descriptions, and budgets. The first one is the ATRB Nano Vaccine Institute project. It is a $7 million project. It's biologically based laboratories and core support space on the 5th floor of our new biosciences building. It provides the functional adjacencies to facilitate the nano-vaccine and nanotherapeutics research enterprise. I want to remind you that the Institute is a consortium of 70 researchers at 21 universities, research institutes, national labs, companies, and healthcare coalitions, and it's all coordinated by Iowa State University. And this is a mix of private giving and university funds. The second project is the Helzer Residence Hall and its life cycle improvements. It's a $3,190,000 project. It will abate asbestos, repair and paint walls, install LED lighting, and replace built-in furniture. It's all to improve the comfort of students, building appearance, and maintenance issues. And it will be funded by the Dormitory System Improvement Funds. And the third project is the Sports Performance Center, and I'm going to turn that over to Chris Jorgensen, who's the Senior Associate Athletic Director for Athletics, to make a presentation on this $90 million project.
Thanks, Pam. I'm first going to say Jamie Pollard, our athletic director, apologizes he couldn't be here today. He's at the NCAA cross-country championships. We have both teams competing, and his son's on the team. So he definitely wanted to be here, but is being a dad today. So walking through the Sports Performance Center North Stadium entrance project. It's actually, it's titled in a way that it's two projects that kind of morph together, that as we started looking into it, the infrastructure and scheduling needs to do the construction caused us to kind of blend these two projects together. Really from a magnitude and size of the projects. I'll get into that at the end. It's a $90 million total project. About 2/3 of that is the Sports Performance Center, and about 1/3 of that is the other facilities that I'll talk about later. Easiest way to walk through the project is kind of an overview of the site plan. And if you're familiar with this area of the stadium, the Jack Trice Stadium would be in the lower right-hand corner of this image. The Jacobson Building, which is our main athletic administrative building, is directly north of Jack Trice Stadium. On this image, then you can see the hillside seating. That will remain. There will just be a concourse. The plan would be to add a concourse similar to what we did on the south end of the stadium. A game day plaza would go in north of the Jacobson Building, replacing what currently resides there is the Olson Building, which resides a number of our Olympic sports programs. The soccer, softball, tennis, and golf programs all train out of that building when they're not in season and at their other facilities. We also have some other sports that use the weight rooms and training facilities in that building. So that building would be removed, and I'll talk about the Sports Performance Center last. But the other piece of this project, as you can see on the far left or west portion of the screen, is a turf management facility operations building. Currently, they are in the lowest level of the Jacobson Building, and another piece of the facilities that would be relocated with the Olson Building being demoed would be our game day operations for our visiting sports programs and the officials on game day. Those would be relocated to the basement of the Jacobson Building, thus the need to add the facility operations center on the west side of the Bergstrom Indoor Practice Field. The Sports Performance Center is being attached to the existing Bergstrom Football Complex. That Bergstrom Football Complex is about a 5 or 6 year old building. We're adding on to that, and in going to the east of that building, and I'll go into the floor plans of that here later. Just sharing a few images of the project. This particular image would be standing where the Olson Building is today, looking south into Jack Trice Stadium and the new entrance as designed. Similar vantage point with the Sports Performance Center off to the right of this image. That's a 4-story building with a basement level as well. It gives some perspective. The roof of that building is about even with the top of the upper deck of Jack Trice Stadium. Another image from the evening, and same image that we saw earlier. As I said, the Sports Performance Center is approximately 2/3 of the project, so I'll walk through the programmatic elements of what will reside in that building. Try to point out, if you're familiar, the Bergstrom Football Complex is the existing building. That diagonal line would be existing facility, as well as this line up here is existing facility. So it's really the right half of that image is new construction, and then some of the colored areas within the existing facility are remodeled spaces that would come on the back end of this project after the new construction is completed. The first floor of this building is largely expansion of football locker room facilities, which would allow then the remodeled sports medicine facilities, which is in the purple on the left half of the screen. On the far right half of the screen would be a common entrance to this facility for all student athletes that would get into then the second, third, and fourth levels of the building as we walk up The upper right northeast corner of this building would be a shared nutrition center. One big change in college athletics in the last several years has been additional opportunities to feed student athletes, and it's actually probably one of the highest demands of our student athletes is on the nutritional side. Second floor of the Performance Center is on the right half of the screen is life skill and academic spaces, and then some additional office space for the football building. Third floor of the building is an academic center for our student athletes. This doubles the amount of space that we currently have. We do have an academic center that's currently on campus that we will be working with Pam and President Winterstein to repurpose for campus at some point in the future after we move out of that space in 2 years. But this would double the amount of space for our student athletes from an academic perspective, and it would consolidate both their academic time, and then as I get into the fourth level of this facility, a dining or nutrition facility. Having the academic and dining components consolidated into one building will be a big time saver for our athletes, and parking is much easier accessed in this area as well. So the dining on the top floor of the building, the left half of this floor, or the west half of this floor, is a kitchen, and the right side of the floor is dining facility, a dining hall for the student athletes. The lowest level of the building, the basement level of the building, is as I mentioned, the Olson building currently, which exists, houses our soccer, softball, tennis, and golf, and then weight and training facilities for other Olympic sports. This lower level of this building largely replaces what those functions take place there today. One last image, just one question we've received a lot with regards to the North Stadium portion of this project is, will the grass hillsides remain? It is intended that they would remain. We would just complete a concourse similar to that we did on the south side of the stadium. As I mentioned, it's a $90 million project. Jamie and his team is in the midst of fundraising for the project. We have a $45 million fundraising goal. And as of today, I think they're at 41 million of that 45 million, and we plan to bring the financial plans back at a later date. With that, any
We're open
questions?
for any questions?
Nice project. Questions from the committee? Okay, that's your, and any questions on any of the Iowa State projects? Because hearing none, the committee will go ahead and submit those to the full board for approval.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Okay, thanks. University of Iowa, request for emergency contracting authorization, or what did I say? Northern Iowa, excuse me.
We're used to it. We are requesting the board to approve the interim approval done by the executive director for emergency repairs based on repair of the steam line that we needed done in September.
Questions? Hearing none, the committee will forward that to the full board. Institutional agreements, leases, and easements.
This is a lease with TechWorks where we have our additive manufacturing center. We're expanding that program as part of the metal casting center for the university. This is a really good economic development project that we have as part of our economic development arm. Pretty straightforward from what it has been before.
Yep, sure is. Questions from the committee? Okay, hearing none, we will recommend that. Is there anything else to come before I guess I neglected to mention roll call, if it could be noted that everyone is present. Anything else to come before the committee? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.